Hello, everybody, and welcome again to Nerd to the Third Power, your one-stop shop for all things nerdy and awesome. I'm your host and master of ceremonies, Dr. Gonzo. With me in this epic quest of awesomeness, as always, is our resident anime goddess, the Cat. Cat, how you doing this week?
I am still very sick. I have bronchitis again, everybody. So if you hear coughing, it's just me dying.
Are we sure this is a new case of bronchitis and not just the old one, just coming back after a break?
I don't know, actually, but I had felt pretty good for a few months there, and all of a sudden back with a vengeance. This bronchitis is way worse than my last bronchitis, but my last bronchitis turned into pneumonia. So I'm hoping to avoid that sitch.
Ooh, yeah, that's not a good thing. And Brian, how are you doing this week?
Truth be told, mentally, maybe physically, I'm doing all right-ish. So, maybe I'll give my physicality to Cat, and if she wants mental, and we'll be like kind of balancing out again.
But between the two of us, we'll have one functional adult. All right, we got a fun show for you guys this week. Tonight, we're discussing Justice League, a movie that we've been looking forward to with a kind of a mix of anticipation and dread. Would that be an accurate statement?
I do believe it would.
Okay, so Kat and Brian have gotten a chance to see that. So that's what we're going to be discussing this week. But of course, there's procedure to follow. So we're going to begin, as always, with Ask a Geek. And Brian, our first question is for you. This one comes from Samuel, and he asks what your thoughts are on the departure of Axel Alonso as editor-in-chief of Marvel.
I mean, I didn't see it coming, truth be told, so this is a bit of a surprise. I don't know if his contract was up or they just decided enough is enough for him. He's been there not very long in terms of publishing history, but long enough to leave a lasting impression. So I don't know. I like the guy personally. I hope he'll land on his feet.
Now, do we know anything about his replacement?
Oh, CB, I can't pronounce his last name, so I'm not going to try, but he's a really nice dude. Please don't hurt me.
CD nice guy?
CB nice guy. No, I know he's worked for Marvel for several years now. This is his first editorial job, I think, because he was actually working with international operations for a while, trying to getting China a market with Marvel. So he's going to come back to the editorial chair with a bit of an international business practice, which is going to be neat for him. So I want to see kind of what he's learned and how he will take the kind of the publisher direction that will go.
Now, how much control really does the editor-in-chief have over sort of the creative direction that Marvel has? Because I'm completely ignorant of how the comics business works. So does like the buck stop with him?
Yeah, yes and no. It really depends on the company, to be quite honest with you. Like basically, the idea is that they're the top boss or the top editor, so they're sort of the ones that are ensuring everything's on the right page, the vision of the creators or the vision of the company, where the not agenda, that's a wrong word to use, but where they feel like is the best work for them going and things like that. They are the ones you sort of pitch new ideas to, and they'll either accept the new idea or reject the new idea, or maybe they'll ask for the pitch to be changed in some way, shape, or form. So a lot of it is a lot of different moving parts for it. I know there's a lot of people who do not want to be chief just because of the pressure they have for it. So it'll be interesting to see where it goes.
Okay. Alrighty. Okay. And let's see. Next question here is for me, and this one comes from Michael, and he asked me what my top 5 games of the year are, and boy, this is a tough one. I'll definitely say that both Breath of the Wild and Mario Odyssey are on that list. Nintendo has been absolutely killing it this year. I think the way that they've handled the launch of the Switch and spacing out their big AAA releases has been a stroke of marketing genius, and I think that they've shown that they have definitely a much more coherent and concrete plan for the Switch than they ever had with the Wii U. And I say that as someone who absolutely loved the Wii U. So Breath of the Wild and Mario Odyssey definitely in there. I'd say Nier Automata definitely in there as well. Horizon Zero Dawn would probably be another one. That's definitely one of the more visually stunning games I've played all year. And the fifth spot. Oh, what to put in there? I'm gonna put it in there on a probationary period because I haven't finished it yet. But I think Wolfenstein: The New Colossus is a contending in my. I would have put Cuphead in there, but it's kind of a smaller. It's kind of it's definitely a great game, but I mean, I don't know if I'd go so far as to call it Game of the Year material. And Sonic Mania, kind of the same boat. It's it's I don't know, kind of a. We'll see. I'll probably have more concrete answers as we get closer to the end of the year. And let's see. Next question here comes from Peter, and it is for all of us. And the question is, if we could have one set of powers from anyone in the Justice League, who would it be? And I'm going to open this up to anyone who's ever been in the Justice League, so that we're not limited to just what we've seen in the movie. Because
everybody,
yeah,
a few characters I don't think have not been at least part of Justice League and or one of the Justice League spinoffs. So you're just asking what's our favorite superpower? I guess,
yeah. I realize
to sound cynical to the question.
All right, so Kat, let's open up with you. What power set would you have?
Anybody in the Justice League? Because I don't know a whole lot outside of what's been in movies. But if I had to pick, I'd probably go with like a lantern. Like, I mean, it's just so all encompassing to have like the Green Lantern's power.
I'm inclined to agree because, like, if you've got a lantern, whether it's a Green Lantern or any other lantern, you're pretty much just limited by your imagination.
Right. I mean, I have a pretty vivid one.
The only downside I could see would, like, maybe if you were like a Red Lantern, you've got to be pissed off all the time. I'm saying this is someone who knows absolutely fuck all about how lantern rings work, so maybe I'm wrong on that. But if you've got a vivid imagination, you've got a lantern ring, you're pretty much invincible. Brian, what about you? What would you pick?
The Kryptonian power sets seem to be pretty OP. Doesn't even matter which Kryptonian you have. It could be anyone. It could be Superman, Supergirl, Power Girl, Mon-El, all these different characters.
Okay, all right. Okay. So then I suppose we could also lump maybe like the whole Captain Marvel family in there, the Shazam family, because they've got pretty much the same power set, just based on magic.
A little bit. There's a few key differences, but yeah, you're close.
Okay. And he's got another question here for me about my thoughts on the rumors of an upcoming Hitman TV series. And
wait, what?
Yeah, there's a rumor flying around that Hulu, in an attempt to catch up to Netflix, is going to be starting up a television series based on the Hitman games.
And then the room goes lukewarm.
To which I say, because we had 2 movies and they weren't all that great, so I'm just like, can we really stretch this out into a television series? I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'll be surprised if and when it finally comes out. I mean, I was pretty cynical on the Orville too, and then it came out, and now I'm one of its biggest cheerleaders. So we'll see what happens. So, but anyway, that's all the Ask a Geek questions that we have for this week. As always, you can send them to us through the email at drgonzo@nerdtothethirdpower.com, or you can send them to us by putting them in the comments beneath our YouTube feed. We do occasionally troll through our YouTube comments for Ask a Geek questions. So yeah, get your questions in. You might get them read on the air. And so with that, we're going to jump right into Justice League. Definitely one of the more polarizing films to be coming out this year, and I'm managing to accomplish that before it's even released. So, this is what the whole DC film universe has been working up to. So I guess the question now to answer is, was it worth it? So let's just open up the floor, Brian and Kat, since you guys were the ones who got to see it. What were your general thoughts on the Justice League movie?
It gets the not as bad as it could have been award.
Wow, that's a high.
Because it definitely, I think it clears the bar of BVS. It doesn't quite reach Wonder Woman, but it's not a bad movie. It's not like a great movie. It's just good. It's not good. It's not great. It's not bad. It's just good, you know? Like, it was enjoyable. I had fun watching it. I might go see it again, but I'm not about to drop a bunch of money on a collector's edition.
So if Wonder Woman was a steak dinner at a filet mignon steak at a 5-star restaurant, this is like, going down to the Olive Garden.
That's a little bit. I hate the Olive Garden, so that's
bad comparison. To generic restaurant here.
It's like if Wonder Woman was going to like a Ruth Chris, this was like going to Texas Roadhouse.
Oh, I like Texas Roadhouse.
I love Texas Roadhouse.
You should. You're in Texas.
Yeah.
I imagine they're everywhere.
Did they actually execute you if you don't enjoy Texas Roadhouse when you live in Texas?
Well, actually, no, because I think the Texas Roadhouse thing is not it's just a name. It's not actually a Texas thing.
Oh, so all right.
Because they're found everywhere, and the closest one to me, I think, got shut down.
So you won't get visited by a cowboy like you would if you didn't call it the great state of Texas?
No, that's if I diss Whataburger, so that's never gonna happen.
All right, Brian, what about you? What are your general thoughts on the Justice League movie?
So, like, the story's choppy. The villain's very forgettable in one note. There's definitely some forced humor around that versus natural humor that didn't work. And you weren't really sure if that was an executive joke, a Zack Snyder joke, or a Joss Whedon joke. But at the end of the day, I enjoyed the movie. Like, I enjoyed myself. I enjoyed watching these characters. I enjoyed where things went. I even enjoyed the ridiculous, bombastic styles of the action.
Okay, all right.
So yeah, overall, I liked it. Like,
yeah, I love how you sound just so confused by that. You sound this isn't how it's supposed to be.
Well, here's the thing is that I know for a fact that probably at the end of the day, I'm going to be called a lot of different names. I'm probably going to be called like a fanboy, an apologist, or a plebe who doesn't know how movies are supposed to be made or how superhero movies are supposed to be made and things like that. But I'm very unapologetic about when I saw the film, as I mentioned in the front of the show, like, I have not been doing well mentally. And I walked out and I had a good time. It was almost hard, the process. I was like, I really did in this film. And, you kind of look at the reviews and you listen to people and you're going, well, how is there something wrong? Because I liked it. That's where like the question comes up for me.
Well, I mean, if it gave you a good time, I mean, if nothing else, that's the bare minimum that one can ask for from a film, especially when you paid $10 for.
I only paid I went matinee. I didn't pay that much. Well, I went to the draft house, so I eventually paid $10 because of food and drink.
Okay, so let's start examining the film down in its component parts, and of course, as always, spoilers ahead. So, Brian, why don't you give us a brief run of the plot of Justice League?
So, after Batman v Superman and Batman had died, spoilers, not Batman, Superman died.
Wow, we saw different movies.
I saw a completely different film. Yeah, Superman had died, so now there's a void in the Earth that everyone's really sad that Superman's dead. But there's now a new threat coming up with parademons and a fourth world invader by the name of Steppenwolf. So Batman is going to collect
I'm sorry, once more in my good ears, Steppenwolf?
Steppenwolf.
Please tell me his theme song is Born to Be Wild.
So I keep forgetting, like, I'm the comic book person here, so when I say these things, like, I just keep going and not realizing people are confused. Steppenwolf is a Jack Kirby creation from the fourth world. He is a conqueror, as it would seem, and in the film, he's a conqueror, but just a very bad one, because he tries to conquer Earth at one point, and he gets pushed back by the collective armies of Atlanteans, Amazons, humans, and also a Green Lantern. Hey, so there is a huge spoiler in there. That was a huge Easter egg. When they defeated them, they collected what they call the Mother Boxes, which is another fourth world creation that were hidden on Earth. Well, because somehow, in some way, shape, or form, because of the death of Superman, Earth is now vulnerable for another invasion. The Mother Boxes summon Steppenwolf back. Batman goes to collect his heroes. Flash, Wonder Woman's already there, kind of helping them out. Cyborg, Aquaman, and they go about to trying to stop Steppenwolf. along the way, they have a horrible idea of bringing back Superman from the dead. Like, there was one of the more logical jumps in the film. It was successful to a point, but in the end, Superman did come back around. They all gather out in random countryside of Russia and fought back the invasion of Steppenwolf, and they saved the day. So that's like the biggest cliff notes you can get of the whole film. I actually explained that in like less than 15 minutes. I'm very proud of myself.
Okay. So what did you guys think of the plot and script of this movie? Now, it's my understanding that...
Do you remember Age of Ultron?
Yeah.
It's Age of Ultron.
It really is.
Like, not like, as again, that's why the story is so choppy, and the whole thing with Zack Snyder leaving the production, Josh Whedon coming in, and Josh Whedon doing a series of huge reboots. He basically just remade Age of Ultron. Which is funny because Age of Ultron is also a movie I would consider good but not great. So it's a weird kind of dichotomy. And I realize I'm putting together two. I'm comparing Marvel DC comics, but whatever.
Well, I guess this sort of raises a question about sort of the perception that we have about Justice League. Is, do you think the reason why people have been sort of kind of cold to it in leading up to release is because it's not doing anything? It's never the DC universe. Sorry, I'm getting tongue-tied.
Use your words.
The DC film universe hasn't really done anything that we haven't already seen before?
Well, no, I think it's the opposite, actually, because for the most part, Batman v Superman is something that I don't think, like, Marvel kind of did that with Civil War, but they did it differently. So I would say, like, for the longest part, they tried to be more, I guess, philosophical about their heroes. Not necessarily comic booky. They tried to either ground them or try to ask these very big and vague questions with no big, vague answers, when really we just want comic book movies. Okay. And we wanted the action. We wanted our heroes to act like heroes in a sense. So Justice League comes along, and Josh Whedon, obviously, when he took over, and you can tell very easily in the film by their editing, where the Zack Snyder vision and the Josh Whedon vision sort of fight for supremacy. And here is definitely more along the lines of, all right, we're going to do more superhero-ish type stuff into it that sort of ignores what we did before, sort of retconning things, if you will. And I think that mixed message is what probably hurt it in the critical eye. But at the same time, people who are supremely critical of the film is the ones that are coming back going, I kind of enjoyed this one for the most part.
Okay. Kat, what about you? What are your thoughts of the story and scripting of this film?
The scripting was all right, I guess. I thought a lot of the jokes and stuff fell flat. I think what Brian said was right. It wasn't like the humor and the character chemistry wasn't very organic. It was very forced. Like, most of the characters didn't have real chemistry. It kind of seemed like, okay, it's two people in a scene together and they're just talking, and there isn't as much, like, it doesn't feel like, oh, these guys had a lot of fun on set together. You didn't really get that feel from it.
I don't know. Jason Momoa as Aquaman looked like he was having a goddamn blast.
Oh, he probably did. Everybody else was just like, I am a person talking. Jason Momoa. Oh, God. Poor Aquaman. You could have had this entire movie without Aquaman in it, and it literally would not have made a difference.
So it's like the comics in that regard, I guess.
You need to shut your fucking face.
And I liked Aquaman. I liked Aquaman in it, but he really didn't have anything to do. Like, they literally could have the exact same plot, including the Atlanteans, and not had him in it, and it would not have made a difference.
Okay, well, I guess that segues into our discussion of the cast. So what do you guys think of the casting in this film?
Jason Momoa is a sight to behold. I really felt like, for as much as there was some male gaze going on, there was definitely some nods to the female fans out there for the amount of shirtless dudes they had in this film. They're just like, oh, well, we're well aware that Jason Momoa is a sex god, so here's half of the film with him no shirt on, and Superman's pretty good looking too. Let's not have a shirt on him either. Can we get Bruce Wayne without a shirt on for any particular reason? Because we're gonna do that. But I'm wondering if that's where Joss Whedon wrote it. Because Dear God,
well,
that's such a Marvel thing to do.
well, fan service goes both ways.
For once.
So, okay, all right. So, all right, the cat is clearly eating the eye candy. All right. So,
Look, I'm not going to say Jason Momoa's not sexy because Jesus Christ, when he took his shirt off, even I was like, damn. I was like, why is he taking this? Oh, he's swimming. Okay, I guess that makes sense.
oh, okay, all right.
So, here's let's do this then, because we know about Ben Affleck as Bruce Wayne, and that really didn't change too much in this film. I'll get to Superman a little bit later because I want to talk about what they sort of did story-wise and character-wise with him. We know Wonder Woman is fantastic. The world needs more Wonder Woman, period. So let's go with Ezra Miller, the Flash, and Ray Fisher, Cyborg, who were I wouldn't call them the odd man out, but I definitely felt like for me, Cyborg needed this film to be like 10 minutes longer for me to get really into him because like the story was there, but I needed to see more. Like I needed to see him before the accident.
I agree with that part because with him already being Cyborg, like they wanted to recruit him not knowing that he was a fucking cyborg. They were like, this kid's really smart, we need him. They never really explained why. Like, why him of all people? And then they find out, oh, he's dead. Oh no, he's a fucking cyborg.
So it's like, okay, we need this kid because he's a genius. Oh, great, he can shoot a rocket from his shoe. Bonus.
And I really liked Cyborg's character arc. I thought he had a good character arc, but I didn't at first, he felt more like a plot device. Like he was kind of a walking, talking MacGuffin.
Oh yeah.
Where he conveniently knew things and could do things without any real explanation other than I am a cyborg and I have shit downloaded in my brain. But despite that, I still liked his character journey as someone who didn't see themselves as human anymore.
Okay, so how Brian, how faithful was that to the comics version of the character?
Well, they're using a lot of the more new 52 version of him than I would say the Marv Wolfman version back in the day. But the idea that Cyborg has struggled with his humanity and cybernetic side is a storyline they've touched on a couple of times. And here it does get touched on. And I do agree. I think it was done very well. I just needed a little bit more with them because first of all, I thought like when Cyborg was introduced in the film, it was like, well, I hate to say it, I was like, this is the character that's going to be ignored. It's like, hi, I'm Cyborg, and then no one's going to care about him. And so to see that there is for me watching and going, there is something to care about this character, and I'm glad they sort of did it. And it was a bit of a surprise on my end. And also it sort of, brings something a little bit different because like the technophile kind of character where he has all this stuff, but at the same time, some of the weaknesses that if you didn't see Batman v Superman, you didn't quite understand again the accident. Like you're like, who's this robot dude? Oh, if you watch the trailer from the other film, he had the accident with his mother box, and that's why all this stuff happens. Like, well, retreading that for a couple minutes probably couldn't hurt movie.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, but I will say again, this is just a stupid thing, but this is a stupid comic book thing. He got to say "booyah" at the end of the film, and I said, "Good on to you," because that's his catchphrase, and that's a catchphrase they created more for the animated series on Cartoon Network way back in the day. So to see that come up to the live screen, I was like, you know what? Good for them. Good for them that they're connecting this character a little bit more.
Okay, and now how did Ezra Miller do as Barry Allen, the Flash?
Well, he went back and forth with me. Like I liked him, and also times I felt like he was the one kind of forcing things. And I don't know exactly where that sort of lies into it. But at the same time, to have a character be the opposite of sort of what we've had before in the other films, like he was the first. When Batman goes to see him, he goes, "I need people." And he's like, "Yeah, I'm down." And he's like, "Oh, okay, yeah, sure, cool." I was expecting more of a fight. He's like, "No, I want to do this. This sounds great." I'm like, "Oh. Okay, a person willing to be a hero. I'm not used to that."
Kind of like the Ant-Man scene from Civil War.
I mean, I guess a little bit, but yeah. So and he provided a little bit of a spark. Sometimes I felt like pun completely intended. to a lot of the different sort of action scenes and things like that. Like his like the super speed action thing with a lot of his fighting, I thought was a highlight of some of the action and visual effects that we'll get into a little bit later. Because unfortunately, there's other visual effects that did not work at all in this film, but his did. Thank goodness. But I also like the fact that it seems like they also got his origin out of the way. So if a Flash movie does happen, I honestly don't know at this point. We can already say, hey, we already talked about his origin. We don't need to see it again, and continue.
I was worried with the Flash that I wasn't going to like him as much as I like Grant Gustin in the TV show, because that's been going on for multiple seasons now, and that's sort of that particular version of the Flash and the Flash's friends has become like the staple now. That's what the casual fans know, because that's what we watch on TV once a week. So I was definitely afraid, like, oh, but Grant Gustin is so charming, and I'm just kind of have a huge crush on him. And what if Ezra Miller isn't as good? And I thought Ezra Miller was actually all right. I liked him as the Flash. I didn't have any particular issues with him per se. He's supposed to come in as like the inexperienced hero, where he doesn't have a MacGuffin that teaches him how to be a hero, and he doesn't have years of experience to draw back on. He's just sort of, as he says, I just run really fast and I push people out of the way. So he doesn't really have a fighting style going into it. And it's sort of him, but he's never really had the courage needed for a battle like this. And so a lot of his arc, small as it may be, is finding the kind of courage he needs and learning a little bit more about his limitations. And my only problem is that they made him super klutzy. And that sort of took away from the dramatic moments.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, he doesn't have to be perfect all the time, because again, he's the newbie, but he does need to like not trip over his feet in every scene.
Yeah, I agree with you on that point.
But other than that, I actually enjoyed him a lot.
I don't know. I imagine that klutziness would also kind of detract from the believability of his power set, because if you're running at the speed of sound and you just happen to trip, you're not eating it. You're a dark smear on the pavement.
The only other problem I had with the Flash was his helmet. His helmet was just like a little long in the back, and it really made me think of the Green Goblin from the first Spider-Man film.
Huh. Yeah, I'm not even sure I noticed that.
I don't know why. It reminds me of like the Crystal Skull aliens just a little bit, because the head is a little too big. And I was like, I don't like that helmet, but everything else was fine. I liked the effects of the lightning on him and everything, because it looks a lot like what they did for the TV show, but not too much like what they did for the TV show. Like, it was, all of his character was just enough like the TV show that you felt like, yeah, this is definitely the same character, but a different actor. Like, you really felt like you already understood the character, and maybe that's why you didn't need a huge backstory.
Yeah, that's true. I can agree with that.
But at the same time, it was different enough that you understood it was a completely different franchise character.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Were there any other standouts?
Not really, to be quite honest with you, because like the main cast is what we really enjoyed. Because everyone else was like is a one-dimensional character. Like, he is very one note. He's very forgettable. And I don't mind Steppenwolf. Like, in the comics, he was not the highest end of the New Gods. So I was very interested. I was very confused when they're like, "This is the villain of the Justice League." I'm going, "Well, there's better villains we can face, but all right, let's see what happens." And he's there. He shows up. He threatens. He fights. He leaves. He's there. He shows up. He threatens. He fights. He leaves. He's there. He shows up. He threatens. He fights. He loses.
He's so full of shit.
Yeah,
like a bottle of shampoo. You lather, rinse, and repeat.
And he's like, I will, take over. You can't stop me. Oh God, you stopped me 3 times. Like, yeah, we get it.
Okay, so I guess since that's pretty much it for the cast, let's talk about the presentation of this film.
No, we're not done with the cast yet. We're not done, because I have to talk about something that's very important to my soul.
Okay, all right.
Because we spoiled it earlier. We spoiled it earlier, but of course, everyone I think already knew going into the film that this was going to be a return of a character of Superman. Superman, in some way, shape, or form, was going to return in this film. He does, in a very convoluted plot where they take him out from his grave, drop him in the Kryptonian ship with a mother box, and the Flash powers up the mother box by running really fast, because that's what he does, and he comes back to life.
I'm now imagining him in a giant hamster wheel.
No, so he comes back to life, and he immediately starts fighting with the Justice League. I was like, fuck. It's like, we just, like, I think a lot of people still haven't gotten over Batman v Superman. I know a lot of Twitter reviewers who have not gone over Batman v Superman. And so to see, Superman come back and immediately go evil, I was like, well, shit, I'm not sure this is where I want this to go. And then something amazing happened.
Batman Lois says Lane, Martha?
No, Lois Lane shows up. Fuck off with that joke. It's old. Lois Lane shows up, takes him away. They have a small, weirdly dialogue scene, and she goes, "You have to go save the world." And he goes, "Yes, I do." And he becomes Superman. Like, for real Superman. Like the Superman we've been waiting for this whole time. Like, he shows up and goes, "What do you need me to do? I've got this." Boom. Civilian saved? Boom, I got this. Steppenwolf, fuck off. Like, he's great. He's fantastic. Like, we've been waiting for this.
He had banter, guys. He had banter.
He had banter. He used his freeze breath, which has never been used in live action film before. Like, it was the Superman we've all, grown up with and loved, and everything was like, "Superman, I need your help. What do you need?" Like, oh, you're not even like questioning. It's like, "No, I'm here to help you. This is what I do." I was like, "Yes, this is what you do."
Thank you. Yeah, I really enjoyed Superman coming back. I thought it was a little bit silly that he had to fight everybody first. I mean, I get it. I just thought it was done better in Avengers. Because they brought him out going, okay, he could either come back totally normal or absolutely crazy and we have to kill him all over again. And they got something a little bit in between. But I kind of had, so when Avengers came out, they basically had everybody fight everybody else so that they could just get it over with. They're like, this is what the fans want to see. Let's just do it in the first ensemble film, get it out of the way, we're good. And then they decided they were going to do Civil War. So then everybody fought again, and it was kind of unnecessary, but still, it's what we wanted to see. And I think we probably wanted to see everybody fight everybody else in this film, because now we have a whole bunch of more characters with new sets of powers. We want to see them used. And not just on this OP villain who just leaves anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't get to see everybody fight everybody. We just got to see everybody versus Superman. And that's not a fair fight. Superman is so powerful.
Yeah, especially there's actually a great moment in that little fight where they're all jumping on him and it slows down because you're following the Flash. And then it goes to Superman's face, and Superman's eyes turn over and he starts looking because he also has super speed. And it goes back to the Flash and his eyes are like super wide, like, that's not what I expected.
So I felt it was a little forced to have a fight with Superman. But it was, I still kind of enjoyed it. I didn't totally enjoy it, but it was nice that they threw something in there that I think people wanted to see. Even if it was completely unfucking necessary and made the movie longer than it needed.
Well, truth be told, like the original was supposed to be split into two movies, and like the first half was going to be like 3 hours long or something like that. And so the hear like get shrunk down to about 2 hours. Like, okay, I can think that's all right. A lot of things got changed when Zack Snyder left the production. So, and you see that in the film itself. Talking about presentation, going back to what Gonzo was trying to segue into, because they're at least like, presentation wise, I think this was a better color palette wise. Let's put it that way. It was a better color palette than we've seen before. Though now I've always wanted to see the red Crisis sky in live action, and now I saw it. I was like, maybe we tone down the red.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I really liked the use of color, especially at the end when like you got that crazy orange going on, and it really tied it all back to the Batman's crazy hallucinations and Batman versus Superman. And I'm like, okay. I don't forgive Batman versus Superman, but I enjoy what they're doing with the crazy colors in this film. There's color at all. It makes me happy.
Yeah, I think I don't think anyone. I think they don't expect people to get over that. And no matter what they do, no apology is probably going to work. So let's just like, all right, we're moving on.
Yeah. I could not. I mean, I wasn't paying that close attention. Like I wasn't looking for it, but I heard that you could really tell which scenes were Joss's and which scenes were Zach's, and I really couldn't tell. Not even, like there wasn't enough dry humor quips for me to pick up on it. So I didn't pick up on what could have been which directors and what were reshoots or not. So
to my knowledge, I want to say every Superman scene was Josh's. Because I mean, this is all rumors and speculations of like that Superman was supposed to be basically evil for the whole film and then be good in part 2, and they said no, that's going to take too long. We'll have him be evil for a few seconds and then good. So again, there's a lot of just any troubled production films like this. You'll be throwing out a lot of different stuff, but that's the rumor that I've heard, that he did a lot of the reshoots of Superman, turning Superman into Superman.
I gotcha.
And then like a lot of early and a lot of like, truth be told, I really don't know. Again, I'll be honest with you. I couldn't tell where the scenes were. As choppy as the first half was, I don't really know who has credit with which.
Interesting. I hope they get into that in the if there's any specials on the home video release. I hope they kind of go over it, because it would be really interesting. I'm sure somebody out there can splice it and go, this is exactly the scenes done by Joss Whedon, and here's how you can tell.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, Brian, you mentioned that there were some visual effects that you didn't care for in regards to the main cast.
Say that again, Kat. I think she's got this for me.
Okay, so I know I heard complaints right off the bat about Cyborg. Cyborg looked fine, guys. He got a little uncanny valley at times, but generally Cyborg was fine. He was fine. Everybody complained that you could see where they had CG painted over Superman because the actor, whatever his name is, I'm brain farting on his name, had grown a mustache, and they had to actually paint over his like lip where there was a mustache. It's fine. You really don't notice it that much. It's fine. Steppenwolf.
And there it is.
Steppenwolf is not fine. I was watching my roommate play Diablo the other day, and I'm like, oh, this is where Steppenwolf is from, because he fucking looks like a Diablo character with like a really muted color palette. He does not look like a movie character. He looks like a video game character.
He looks like a badly rendered video game character. Like they ran out of money and said, I hope no one notices. We could have rendered him a couple more times, but we didn't.
Please tell me he had texture pop in at one point.
I don't know if I saw texture popping, but every time he came up on screen, I got a close of him talking. I'm just like,
I mean, this, like, the quality of it is something you'd expect from like 8 years ago, 5 years ago. I mean, it's not bad. It's also just not good either. Like, you never look at him and go, I can't tell if that's a person or not. And honestly, there was not a whole lot of reason for a lot of the scenes could have been done with a person. They could have just been done with a really tall guy, shot at certain angles, a lot of makeup. And it makes me wonder, is makeup that expensive?
Well, so now here's the weird part, is that Steppenwolf in the comics looks human. All the new gods look human, except for I shouldn't say all of them. Darkseid, Calabac do not look human, but Steppenwolf does. He could just and I think they were just, someone in there says, oh no, he can't just look normal, okay, human. He has to look threatening in some way. But it wasn't threatening. I just didn't see him threatening. And the Justice League was like, yeah, he's kind of threatening. Then they just beat the shit out of him in the third act. Like, oh, I guess not.
Yeah. It honestly felt like they were going a little bit Wonder Woman with how Hades kind of looked. Aries. Sorry, Aries. Not Hades. I have Hades on the brain. Don't ask why. Yeah, with the look that kind of Aries had, and I kind of felt like they were leaning towards that sort of look, and maybe that was supposed to tie it back to Wonder Woman a little bit more because they got most of their information about him from Wonder Woman. But it felt so out of place. And then the parademons, like, I couldn't understand what they were going for visually, because what they were going for visually was this weird steampunk bug person, but that did not fit with the aesthetic of Steppenwolf. It literally made no sense. These things clashed so badly.
Yeah, like the parademons, they're following again the more New 52 idea of the parademons. So they're a bit more rugged, I guess, or violent,
ugly.
Ugly. Well, they were ugly. They were always ugly. That hasn't changed. There's just a different kind of ugly.
But there's good ugly, like, oh, you're an ugly one, and there's bad ugly, which is just like, really, this is what our money went to. So with the parademons, kind of more the latter.
If you look up parademons from the Super Friends, they're red demons. Like, they're just straight up red demons. So I don't know. I guess they became more buggish for this film. And more recently in the comics, they're a little bit more buggish as well because I guess space bugs are scary.
But we can't ignore that they're also steampunk space bugs.
They are in fact very steampunk space bugs, like very much so. The goggles give it away.
Okay. All right. Well, it's about time to start wrapping things up. So let's just start wrapping things up by giving our final thoughts on Justice League, the film. So, Kat, you go first.
I enjoyed this film. I enjoyed it quite a bit more than I was expecting to. Again, not at Wonder Woman level, but definitely better than anything else the DCEU has spit out. So it was good. I also really enjoyed the soundtrack for it. It was pretty good.
So, it's kind of the interesting story behind the soundtrack is that the original soundtrack, the guys who did the work for, I think it was Hans Zimmer and Junkie XL, which is I think a DJ who worked with Batman v Superman, was going to work on this and was working on it, but then once the Zack Snyder walked away and Josh came in, and Josh, well, I'm not going to sugarcoat it, he fired him and brought in Danny Elfman. And what Danny Elfman did was do his normal Danny Elfman things, but he also brought back the original Batman score from his Batman films. So when Batman was on screen, you got to hear that. And he did something kind of clever in the Superman fight, is that the fight, not only was it Superman versus the Justice League, every so often as Superman does something, the John Williams Superman theme kind of tries to start up. Like, the soundtrack is having a fight as well to get the original Superman back. Like, I don't know if that was intentional, but I remember listening to that going, all right, this is somewhat clever on a very musical level.
Okay. All right. So I guess, Brian, are those your final general thoughts?
Yeah, going back to it, and I like the film, guys. I know, like I said early, I'll be called names, and I'll have at it. At this point, you can't knock me down any further. I can only go up. So right. I like the film.
This is the part of the show where we give our final ratings on the film. As always, our ratings are from best to worst. See it now, wait for matinee, wait for DVD, wait for cable, don't even bother. And Brian's rating, fuck this movie. So, Kat, let's start with you. What's your rating for this film?
I would say if you're not sure if you're gonna enjoy it or not, I would say wait for a matinee. I went to the matinee. I did my Saturday morning $6 matinee price, and I'll probably go see it again some Saturday morning because I did enjoy it. So I would say wait for a matinee if you're not sure. I wouldn't pay full price for this film if you're not absolutely sure you're going to like it.
Okay, so Kat's saying wait for matinee. Brian, what about you?
I'll agree with that, and actually I'll take a step further. That matinee is a good thing to go with this especially if you have some time off this holiday break or anything like that, and just want to see it for yourself. Go ahead. The only people who are probably going to see it, day one at any given time are people who are really into the DC universe, and I understand that, and I agree with you on that point. But I will say, if you don't know if reviews have sort of scared you away, you might just wait for DVD for this one. Rent it and just, provide your own feelings afterwards. I can't justify going out sometimes to a movie like that, especially if you're scared off by reviews or any sort of critics. So yeah, I'm looking for around matinee if you're interested, but if you're curious, wait for DVD.
Okay. Alrighty. And that's about all the time that we have for Nerd to the Third Power this week. We hope you guys have a good Thanksgiving holiday, and we will see you next week for a double feature where we'll be discussing Stranger Things and The Punisher. So I know me and Kat are both looking forward to that for each half of that conversation. So we will see you next.
And I will be there watching or listening, I guess.
That sounded dirtier than you probably meant.
I don't know. I'm tired.
All right. We'll see you guys next week. Have a happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Taka, play us out.